Hey, Levar Burton here with a message of love and support for Jen and all of her friends. If you're anything like me, your stress levels are pretty much on maximum these days. But I know I'm going to get through this because I have faith in myself. And I have faith in my friends, my family, my support system. And I have faith in you too. We are going to get through this. In the fullness of time, we will get through this. And until then, we're just going to need to lean on one another. Maybe a little bit more than we're used to, but that's one of the reasons why we're here, isn't it? To lift one another up. So one of the things that I try and remind myself of as often as I can is that when things get overwhelming, I just stop and take a deep breath. Seriously, it really does help. Just stop and take a deep, cleansing, relaxing breath. Take a moment for yourself and get your balance back. Peace and blessings to all of you. I'll see you next time, but you don't have to take my word for it.
What did you think? I thought that might make you smile. I got you that little cameo because I thought it might help to hear it from somebody that you admire and I know that you enjoy. So no matter where you are right now, you had that little moment and that was for you. That was something that was sought out for you. So with that said, I wanted to continue this little digital care package that I've created for you. That was obviously, what I learned when I used to be a journalist is don't bury the lead, put the best stuff up front. And so to help calm you and relax you and let you feel a little bit of joy today, I thought that we would kind of stick with the same theme. We're going to read a story, a children's story, just like you would have done in Reading Rainbow. I don't know if you saw that show when you were little, but I did. We're going to learn, I'm going to chat with you by this fire, and we're going to do a little bit of Levar Burton facts. Last, I have a special surprise for you, and I'm going to take you on a little spaceship tour. Yep, that's the one. You can skip ahead to it if you want. We're going to go through all the little rooms and we're going to chat. As always, down below in your little digital gift box, which we will call the description, there are also lines to the suicide hotline, the crisis hotline that you can text so that you know you're not alone. And I think that these things, the fact is, life sucks. And life sucks for some people now more than it has before. Life sucks the same for some people that it has before. But it's also full of beautiful things. And in the moment, I like to give you the opportunity to enjoy some beautiful things. So for this digital care package that I've put together for you, I will, in accordance with the theme, read you little pieces from people wiser than I that you might find encouraging. And you're free to enjoy the fire, and then afterwards, like I promised, we'll read a children's book, and then we will go on a spaceship tour. Yes, and I think that you will find that encouraging. So the first one is the one that I always have linked below, and that's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. As I've said, Viktor Frankl wrote his defining work because of his experience in the concentration camps. I think it was in about 1946 that he penned this. And you'll find it as a book on how to survive suffering in a lot of different places. And these are a couple things that he wrote. One, he wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you're going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, or as the byproduct of one's surrender to a person other than oneself. Happiness must happen, and the same holds for success. You have to let it happen by not caring about it. I want you to listen to what your conscience commands you to do, and go on to carry it out to the best of your knowledge. Then you will live to see that in the long term, I say, success will follow you precisely because you had forgotten to think about it. Instead of thinking about happiness, thinking about the thing that makes you happy. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. I want you to listen to what your conscience commands you to do and go on to carry it out to the best of your knowledge. There was no need to be ashamed of tears, for tears bear witness that man had the greatest of courage, the courage to suffer. Another really beautiful book on suffering, as we're going through these different times, was by Nicholas Wolterstorff, another one that I read in the hospital shortly after my little brother died. And it was about a couple years later. My mom gave it to me right after my little brother died, and I didn't read it until several years later because I didn't like thinking about it. It gave me sick feelings in my stomach. And reading it, he had lost his son in a very similar way to how I had lost my brother. They were both up in the mountains in beautiful places and with friends. And he wrote some. His book is this. Just, I don't know if I can really read parts of it to you because it is so powerful, but I recommend that you look at it. Look up Lament for a Son by Nicholas Wolterstorff. It's written in little vignettes about what happened and how he feels about his son and his suffering, right? And he's very honest about it. So like, this is a really honest and sad passage. He says, it's the neverness that is so painful. Never again to be here with us, never to sit with us at the table, never to travel with us, never to laugh with us, never to cry with us, never to embrace us as he leaves for school, never to see his brothers and sister Mary. All the rest of our lives we must live without him. Only our death can stop the pain of his death. So he's very honest, and you can see I'm about to tear up a little bit because did just lose somebody who was a big inspiration and supporter for a lot of my work, and dare I say like a friend, somebody that meant a lot to me. And it brings back the memories of other people that are lost, and I'm sure everyone is suffering, everyone has these feelings, and part of it is working through it honestly, and that's what he does in this book, is he works through it honestly. He writes out what is happening and all his different feelings, and then he arrives at some of these most beautiful and most poetic understandings of suffering, and of this idea of suffering and even depression. He takes something I think many of us have heard probably, where it is said, blessed are those who mourn, and he thinks about that, and he's like, how can it be blessed to mourn? And he says, it's blessed to mourn because we're the ones, those of us who are mourning, are able to recognize that this isn't how things should be, and therefore we can make change. Being able to recognize this isn't how things should be, it means that you know something in you is longing for more. So the fact that you suffer is actually, and that you feel suffering and you feel things, is actually a gift. It means that you're not numb to the problems of the world, and therefore there's hope that you might be able to help fix them. Am I distracting you doing this with my hair? It's because my hair feels really weird with this thing on. Alright, I have my little techno band. It's just you and me here by the fire. I forgot to get you a cup of tea. Do you want a cup of tea? No? Okay. That's good. I am very excited tea-wise, but I'll let you know about that later in the week. So, the idea that blessed are those who mourn. Like, think about that. What does that mean, that your suffering is in some way blessed? Another lovely little book to consider taking a look at while you're suffering is so I'm part Japanese, as you know. The Theology of the Pain of God by Kitamori Kazo Kitamori. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying the R like it's German. Kitamori is not German. So he's a Japanese writer writing about pain and suffering. And again, he talks about pain and he studies ancient scripts to look at like the meaning of pain. Literally, like here where he says, Jeremiah used the word pain in its most precise meaning to describe the love of God towards us. We cannot possibly perceive what the pain of God is, but we know the meaning of pain experienced in our human heart. Through this experience, the divine tries to reveal to us what is taking place in his heart. So, something to look up, The Theology of the Pain of God by Kazo Kitamori. And if you want me to read any of these to completion, I think that's something that we can certainly do in our little depression visits that we have. But today, I just wanted to put together a bunch of different things and make you an encouraging care package in the theme of reading. I have the Reading Rainbow song stuck in my head now because at the end of his cameo, what he said, so it's stuck in my head now. And now I want to sing, but I'm not going to sing. And so that's, I think probably the best thing I could get you in your care package. I can't get you Kazuo Kitamori talking to you because he is dead. I cannot get you Nicholas Wolterstorff because I have no idea how. And I certainly can't get you Viktor Frankl because he is dead. But I can give you little bits and pieces through this care package of the things they said. And that's the beauty of books, is that through books, you really are taking a care package, like from the past, and receiving the words and things that people say. I know I look like a clown, don't I? I'm sorry. I am a little distracted. It's a strange day. It's a day full of joy and full of sadness. And I think the joy of it is understanding that you really are not alone. And I really, really want you to know that today. And so I wanted you to know that from, high up in fancy places, and people who are, much wiser than me, and people who are much more famous and interesting than me. And I wanted you to know that through me too. Because I think that is what, I'm gonna cry, but. So, the person who inspired this video is a sci-fi fan of mine from the sci-fi that I write, who used to come every year to my booth at Wizard World in Austin and bring his children, and they would read and talk, and he was very generous, and you could tell that there was a lot of pain in his life. And it encouraged me so much, just some of the little things that they said, and I'm gonna, like some of the things that the daughter said, or some of the things that he said, and he was always incredibly encouraging to the work that I did. And that sounds very vague. It sounds like, what does that mean? But when I write for people who I believe are suffering some pain, right? The goal is to encourage you in your pain where you are. It's the same when I make the videos. I want to meet you in reality, not in an imaginary positive affirmations world. And I want to be part of maybe not curing, but in some ways alleviating the pain of existence. Sounds very metaphysical. And this person was somebody who really not just encouraged me to do that, but let me know why I was doing what I was doing. Because this is a person who, basically, this is one of the, in Man's Search for Meaning, it talks about like having a purpose. this was one of the people who gave me purpose, who reminded me, you know, it's like the picture of the person that I was writing for. I would think about the daughter, sometimes think, okay, maybe this will be a good one. And I didn't, you know, and this family would contact me every now and then, or I would contact them. And it's easy to, I spent a lot of time crying already, so that's done. But I appreciate all that they don't know that they gave me, and all the encouragement. So this dad has passed, and I just found out today. And all of the encouragement that was given me is something that I would like to give to you in kind of a legacy way. Exactly. Because, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. And I think it's hard to find the exact things to say when you are a little bit overwhelmed. But I wanted to share that legacy of encouragement with you, because the main thing that it seemed like, and I don't know, but the main thing that it seemed like he was appreciating from what I was giving was the not being alone. And so that's something that I feel so driven all of a sudden now and inspired that I want to continue, because I cannot do it for this person anymore because they are gone. And so I want to encourage you instead, because you are still here. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. But I am glad to see you, and I want you to know that you're not alone. Even though you and I maybe don't know each other, and maybe you and I, maybe we'll never meet, and there are many more of you than I could probably ever meet in my lifetime. But the way that science works, when I'm speaking my voice into this little microphone, and it's going off far away and traveling through the internet into your headphones, we are touching each other in some way. Because that's literally what it is when you're moving molecules in the air. If I'm doing this, those molecules in the air are now going to go over and bump into something. That energy is transferred. It's the law of conservation of energy. I'm a physician, so I'm very nerdy. And that energy is conserved, and it's passed on through those vibrating walls and through the next thing. So much more so with the internet. You are literally getting something. When you're hearing my voice, you're literally getting my tongue moving this air and moving other things to touch you. It's like as if we were touching each other through clothes, right? If I tap on your shoulder, then what's happening is you're feeling the pressure from my fingers pushing into the cloth. Same thing, you're feeling and hearing my connection to you. And you are not alone, even if I'm not, real there with you. And for that, like I said, there's always the mental health resources in the description. But you are not alone. And because I can no longer say it to this person, I want to say it to you. And that's why I'm here today. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna cry, but I'm gonna leave it in, because I want you to know that, you are so valuable, and you have no idea how even the smallest thing you do can affect somebody's life really significantly. This gentleman and his family, in real life, we interacted maybe 3 times, and over the period of several years, we could probably count the total interactions on maybe 2 hands. But this person, through the small kind things that they said, has influenced my entire life. And that's 3 tiny interactions and just a few messages over. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna leave it in because I want you to know that it's real. Over several years, you have such a big power to impact those around you through the things you say and the way you are. And you never know if what you're doing is impacting somebody on a much bigger scale than you can ever imagine. So I want you to know that not only are you not alone, but other people aren't alone because of you, because you are a valuable human being. And everything you do has a huge ripple effect in the universe around you, bad or good. And yeah, you are a powerful and scary, wonderful thing. And I'm glad that you exist. It's like I need to just let it out. I need to just let the tears. I need to let them just go. I already have the little dots. I didn't intend for them to be like teardrops, but well, stranger, shall we continue? I have one more little thing in this part of the digital care package to read to you. And this is from The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis. Oh my goodness. Now my nose is running because of you. You made me cry. With your beauty and your wonder, dear human being. Here we go. And yes, I have a little computer here. So, this is the description. So, again, of the value of pain and the value of suffering. We can ignore even pleasure, but pain insists upon being attended to. The divine whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. You may have noticed that the books you really love are bound together by a secret thread. You know very well what is the common quality that makes you love them, though you cannot put it into words. But most of your friends do not see it at all, and often wonder why, liking this, you should also like that. Again, you have stood before some landscape which seems to embody what you have been looking for all your life, and then turned to the friend at your side who appears to be seeing what you saw. But at the first words, a gulf yawns between you, and you realize that this landscape means something totally different to him, that he is pursuing an alien vision and cares nothing for the ineffable suggestion by which you are transported. Even in your hobbies, has there not always been some secret attraction which the others are curiously ignorant of, something not to be identified with, but always on the verge of breaking through, the smell of cut wood in the workshop or the clap-clap of water against the boat's side? Are not all lifelong friendships born at the moment when you at last meet another human being as some inkling, but faint and uncertain even in the best, of that something which you were born desiring, and which, beneath the flux of other desires and in all the momentary silences between the louder passions, night and day, year by year, from childhood to old age, you are looking for, watching for, listening for? You have never had it. All the things that have ever deeply possessed your soul have been but hints of it, tantalizing glimpses, promises never quite fulfilled, echoes that died away just as they caught your ear. But if it should really become manifest, if there ever came an echo that did not die away but swelled into the sound itself, you would know it. Beyond all possibility of doubt, you would say, here at last is the thing I was made for. We cannot tell each other about it. It is the secret signature of each soul, the incommunicable and unappeasable want, the thing we desired before we met our wives or made our friends or chose our work, and which we shall still desire on our deathbeds when the mind no longer knows wife or friend or work. While we are, this is. If we lose this, we lose all. Your longing and your ache and the ache of your soul. Again, blessed are those who mourn, because you know there's something missing. And as long as you know there's something missing, there's hope that it can be found. I hope you found that encouraging. I may cry again as we read things, but instead of crying, I am going to read you a little children's story, and then we will continue on our way, and I will put you to bed. As you know, I love Peter Pan. This is not the original Peter Pan from J.M. Barrie. This is a special limited edition Peter Pan book that I was given Well, I wasn't giving it. I put down good money for this. And it has pictures, but it is based very closely on the Jamberry. This is Peter and Wendy, of course. And it's dedicated to a bunch of patrons and things, because not patrons, but all children grow up except one. Part 1, The Shadow. Children always know after age 2 that they will grow up. The way Wendy knew was this. This is her mother. She says, "Oh, Wendy, why can't you stay this way forever?" That was all that passed between them on the subject. But henceforth, Wendy knew that she must grow up, and it was the beginning of the end. Of course, the Darling family lived at 14, and until Wendy came, her mother was the chief one. This is her mother. She was a lovely lady. Her romantic mind was like the tiny boxes that come from the puzzling East, one within the other. However many you discover, there are always more. Her sweet, mocking mouth had one kiss on it that Wendy could never get, though there it was, perfectly conspicuous in the right-hand corner. I wonder if I read this way, can you see better? You should read Peter Pan by Jamberry if you want something kind of trippy, but not as trippy as Alice in Wonderland. Older books used to be so much more trippy. And also kind of deep, and there's a special meaning in everything. Special double meaning in every Peter Pan thing. Not a naughty double meaning. The way Mr. Darling won her was this. The many gentlemen who had been boys when she was a girl discovered simultaneously that they loved her. They all ran to her house to propose, except Mr. Darling. He took a cab and nipped in first and got her. He got all of her except the innermost box and the kiss. He never knew about the box, and in time he gave up trying for the kiss. Mrs. Darling was married in white, and at first she kept the books perfectly, almost gleefully, as if it were a game. Not so much as a Brussels sprout went missing, but by and by whole cauliflowers dropped out, and instead of them there were pictures of babies without faces. They were Mrs. Darling's guesses. Wendy came first, then John, then Michael. For a week or two after Wendy came, it was doubtful whether they would be able to keep her, as she was another mouth to feed. Mrs. Darling wanted to risk it, but that was not Mr. Darling's way. His way was with a pencil and a piece of paper. "George, now don't interrupt. I have £1.17 here. I can cut off my coffee at the office, say 10 shillings, making 2, 9, and 6. Remember mumps. Mumps is £1. 3, 9, 7, dot, and carry the 7. And the baby's gurgling in the background. He says, 'Quiet, child. 8, 9, 7, dot, and carry the child.' Did I say 997? I did. The question is, can we try it for a year on 997? Of course we can, George. This was the same excitement over John, and Michael had an even narrower squeak, but both were kept. And this is Nana, the nurse. Mr. Darling had a passion for being exactly like his neighbors, so of course they had a nurse. She belonged to no one in particular until the Darlings engaged her in Kensington Gardens. She proved to be a treasure of a nurse. How thorough she was at bath time, and up at any moment of the night if one of her charges made the slightest cry. and believed to her last day in old-fashioned remedies like rhubarb leaf. It was a lesson in propriety to see her escorting the children to school. She always thought children important and spent most of her spare time peeping into perambulators. She was much hated by the careless nursemaids whom she followed home and complained of to their mistresses. There is a room in Miss Folsom's school where nurses wait. They affected to ignore her as one of inferior social status to themselves, and Nana despised their light talk. Most of these lines actually come directly from the book. I had the book almost memorized when I was younger. No nursery could possibly have been conducted more correctly. Mr. Darling knew it, yet he sometimes wondered uneasily whether the neighbors talked about his dog for a nursemaid. He had his position in the city to consider. Nana also troubled him in another way. I sometimes get the feeling that Nana does not admire me. Oh, George, I know she admires you tremendously. Now come join us. Lovely dances followed, in which the only other servant, Liza, would sometimes join. There was never a simpler, happier family until the coming of Peter Pan. Mrs. Darling first heard of Peter when she was tidying up her children's minds. It is the nightly custom of every good mother, after her children are asleep, to rummage in their minds and put things straight for the next morning. If you could keep awake, but of course you can't, you would see your own mother doing this. Mothers are a little bit magical in these. She would pore over the contents of their day, making the discoveries sweet and not so sweet, pressing this or that to her cheek as if it were as nice as a kitten. When you wake in the morning, the naughtiness and evil passions with which you went to bed have been folded up and placed at the bottom of your mind. On top, beautifully aired, are spread your prettier thoughts, ready for you to put on. Doctors sometimes draw maps of other parts of you, but catch them trying to draw a map of a child's mind. There are zigzag lines on it, just like your temperature on a card, and these are probably roads on the island, for the Neverland is always more or less an island. And the next picture is beautiful. I love Neverland. The Neverland is the snuggest and most compact of all the islands, with no tedious distances between one adventure and the next. There are lonely lairs, princes with 6 elder brothers, and a hut fast going to decay. It would be an easy map if that were all, but there is also chocolate pudding day, murders, needlework, and so on. These are either part of the island or they are another map showing through. The Neverlands on the whole have a family resemblance. John's, for instance, had a lagoon with flaming flamingos. Not flaming, I'm sorry, I can't read. With flamingos flying over it, while Michael's had lagoon. I have to read this too carefully because it's a funny word sentence. John's Neverland had a lagoon with flamingos flying over it, while Michael's had flamingos with lagoons flying over it. Wendy lived in a house of leaves and had a pet wolf forsaken by its parents. When you play at it by day with chairs and tablecloth, he's talking about blanket forts. The Neverland is not the least bit alarming, but in the 2 minutes before you go to sleep, it becomes very real. That is why there are night lights. See the scary part of Neverland. On these magic shores, children at play are forever beaching their coracles. We too have been there. We can still hear the sound of the surf, though we shall land no more. If you like, I can read you more of this. Let me know. I have to warn you. Oh my goodness, it's Peter, look. It is Peter and the children learning to fly. I have to warn you that they did not finish making it. They finished as close. They came to the end here. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful illustration. So they came there, but they didn't do a second Kickstarter for Volume 2. You should hit them up and tell them to do Peter Pan the Graphic Novel Volume 2, because it's truly beautiful. Their names are Renee DeLiz and Ray Dillon. But Peter Pan is such a comprehensive series of stories that them getting to the Neverland is already a beautiful picture. Beautiful picture book. I hope you enjoyed that. I know my hair is a disaster now. Let me put my hair up, and then you and I will go on a little spaceship tour. I wanted to give you some lovely little facts on the way before we went. Because, you see, every good digital care package must include things both real and imaginary. So we've already done a little bit of real. Let us now do the imaginary. Are you ready? Well, we'll do a little more real. Are you not quite ready yet for the imaginary? I see. I wouldn't want to overwhelm you with too much Neverland in one day. So, we'll do a little bit of real, and we'll transition. So, let's see, let me pull it up. I do, in fact, you are not wrong. I know I don't look good from that side. I have gotten a little fat, but we can lose weight together. It's okay. We'll work on it together. If we do that together, you have to promise me not to cheat. I hate cheaters. I believe... Here we go. These were a couple things that I found on the Screen Rant that I wanted to share with you, that I thought were truly beautiful. And this is going to make me cry because it's relevant again to why I'm making this video. But did you know that Geordi LaForge on Star Trek was named after a real Star Trek fan? While creating the characters for the next generation, the Star Trek writers kept one particular fan in mind, George LaForge, who was a quadriplegic fan of the original Star Trek series, who sadly passed away in 1975. With creator Gene Roddenberry focused on creating a new character with disabilities, it was screenwriter David Gerard who suggested naming the character after the longtime fan. They both agreed this would be a special tribute to the late dedicated Trekkie. And I think there's a reason that that particular character was valuable to so many people, because it brings you a lot of inspiration to see somebody like you up on screen. It's why these things matter. Multiple people actually auditioned for the role of Geordi LaForge, including the Kevin Peter Hall, who played the Predator, and Baseball Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson. Wesley Snipes, I think he's Blade, right? He also auditioned, but at the time he was a relatively unknown actor with just a few credits to his name, and so he wasn't as well known yet. Also at that time, Levar Burton was the biggest cast member, actually. He was the only one who had a large following in the United States already because of the success of Reading Rainbow. So the character of Geordi LaForge was originally decided to be before they decided he was a chief engineer, he was originally going to be focused on the Starship School for Children in an homage to Burton's legacy on the children's program Reading Rainbow. This idea was scrapped for a more technological background. He was also supposed to be Jamaican. And his mother was actually played by Jamaican actress Madge Sinclair. So, they actually made his visor on the first day of shooting. And I think another thing that I found kind of funny is he admitted in an interview, as the cast recalled tales from the series, the Star Trek, this is on StarTrek.com. He admitted in the first season during a long take, I fell asleep in the visor. Fantastic prop. And something I wanted to tell you that I thought was impressive was the visor gave him terrible headaches because they had to actually screw it into his head. And so the character often complains about getting headaches because of the visor. This is something he had in real life. He says, in the second season we redesigned the visor and made it heavier, and the way we actually fixed it was that we screwed it. We literally screwed it into my head. And so there were screws that we would turn, and there were flanges on the inside that would press into my temples, and after 15 or 20 minutes of that, I got headaches. So I had a daily headache for about 6 years. Wow. The character was promoted really quickly. He went from helmsman to lieutenant junior grade to lieutenant commander, chief engineer. No one got promoted as quickly. And then, of course, in the futuristic timeline of Star Trek Voyager, timeless, he becomes a captain. So, there was, this is interesting. Reading Rainbow had become a staple in children's lives for over 23 years, with Burton at the center of the show's success. When he got the LaForge role in 1987, he made sure to stay dedicated to his education program and split his time filming episodes for both shows. However, out of his dedication to maintaining both series, fans of both shows were treated to some exclusive Next Generation footage that had never been released in any other form. In the 1988 episode Reading Rainbow, the Bionic Bunny Show, viewers were shown behind-the-scenes footage that included bloopers from The Next Generation. To date, this footage has only been released legally on that show. Incidentally, the included footage made that episode the most popular episode of all time. So, during the casting process, there was a scene. This is an interview with Gizmodo where Levar Burton said during the casting process there was a scene that Gene Roddenberry wrote between Geordi and Data that established their relationship. In that scene, Geordi and Data discussed how Geordi's eyes and Data's brain saw the world in a very similar way. They saw the truth of the world around them, and so, in the scene that Gene wrote, they formed a team and called themselves the Perceivers because their perceptions were alike. There were actually plans to have him getting healed, and they decided not to because it was so important what his daily, life and coping meant to people who had disabilities who watched the show. And I think it gets back to the theme we're talking about, that your pain is sometimes necessary, and you don't want to get rid of it sometimes because you don't know what amazing things it could be doing for somebody else. So sometimes there is value in the chronic suffering of our condition. And I say this as somebody with chronic pain all the time, who doesn't want it to be there and who wants it to go away. Understanding that there are, obviously I'm going to continue seeking medical attention and continue trying to get better. But you never know what's going on in the bigger picture. And again, you never know what little thing like him having a visor for a long period of time made a big difference to people and gave hope to people who saw themselves as lesser and could now see themselves as heroes. It's a valuable thing. Again, we're not going to try to worship a star or anything like that. But, as we discuss in this video, the relationship between fans and stars and pain and coping, it kind of goes back to the whole thing. You are not alone. You ready for your tour now? Alright, I'm very excited. Come on. Yes, you come on. Don't be scared. It's going to be okay. You are going to have a wonderful time here. So I'm going to turn off the holodeck now, and we will be back in reality. That's right. This whole thing has been to help you calm down for your duties, so that as you proceed with your work here on the Enterprise, you will be able to thrive. I know it's challenging when it's your first time in space. No, don't mind me. I'm just somebody who helps you to integrate. Exactly. I am not important. I am a nobody. So, this is the hallway. It is undergoing significant remodeling. Isn't it lovely? Some of the new panels, or it has undergone significant remodeling, so things look fairly new and shiny now. I'm going to have you step into the turbo lift with me. I know, my hair is a nightmare, but it is what it is. We're in space, I don't care. No, you're right, and I don't have to follow the uniform regulations that all of you do. I'm more of a civilian, so. Of course. Alright, so here from the turbo lift, I'm going to show you different important places so that you know where to go when you're called. Alright? It's exciting, isn't it? Alright, now this is the conference room. This is where all of the important members of the bridge will come and meet, and if you have to bring and deliver a message or something else like that, and participate with some of the bridge crew in any way, this is where you will come, if they're in a meeting. Exactly. Well, speaking of that, let's head to the bridge next. Come on. So how long are you going to be aboard with us? Are you excited? I know you were very nervous. You're not alone in that. And it can be scary to have big responsibilities, especially with some of the kind of scarier things that have gone on recently on board. I know. But together. Exactly. And then, alright, so first, this is the bridge. I'm going to change the lights here real quick. It's lovely, isn't it? You can walk over this way. You already understand the layout and where everyone sits and works. Security officers over there, you're right. Exactly. Engineering. And of course that's where the captain sits. You're right. You know all these things. So you will really only come here when summoned. Absolutely. The rest of us, we get up to our own adventures around the ship. There are hundreds of us here. Alright. I understand. I think reading John Scalzi's book, Red Shirts, before you come aboard the Enterprise is perhaps the most terrifying thing you can do. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend reading it after you've survived the Enterprise. Exactly. Well, and I need to hit the workout area more. Alright. I would like to take you to the engine control room. Because you'll be doing a lot of work there. Yes, let's go. Alright. Here we are. You understand everything. You can get... Okay. You can get more acquainted with the specifics later when you're actually working. Of course. Let's go to the warp core now. Okay. There is an 8-hour ambient holodeck sounds track, or is it holodeck? No, there's an 8-hour ambient Star Trek work track that you can listen to. If you find this kind of thing relaxing. Yep, I didn't make it, some genius made it. Come on, let's hit the warp core. Please don't literally hit the warp core. I had somebody do that and hurt themselves very badly last tour. Alright, come on. Of course, 10 forward is where you will be having your leisure. But let me just make sure you see. Do you see everything that you need to know where it is? Okay. Oh, yes. That's right. The transporters. Oh, you already saw them when you walked by? Perfect. Okay. I think you'll like it here. I know you had a little bit of a panic attack when you first came on board, but I think our little time in the holodeck was relaxing, right? Good. It's good to think about other times and other worlds and imaginary places and imaginary people, like like Viktor Frankl. No, he did exist. He was a real person. Yep. We're not gonna go there. And alright. Yeah, I'll show you where 10 forward is. And then I think you should go to your quarters and rest. You've had a big day. Alright. Let's go this way. Are you sure you don't want me to buy you a drink? Hold on. You can look around. I'll run over to the bar real quick. Hey there, excuse me. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. They're really fast. They had it all. So this, I think, will help you sleep. I think it's relaxing. I think it's enjoyable. And it's got, a lot of antioxidants in it. Should remind you of home. Okay, I said it would remind you of home. I didn't say it came from your home. Yes, it's very alien. Go ahead and tell me what you think it is. Yeah, what do you think? Sure, I'll have a sip too. Thank you. Of course not. I wouldn't. Yeah, you're a funny one. Well, they've still not invented a lipstick that doesn't stick to the glass, so there you go. Yeah, I think that, so a lot of people come here to hang out. Other people, like myself, are a little more solitary, and we like to read or be in our own quarters. Of course. Of course. I totally agree. I think you are going to sleep really well tonight. Yeah, I'll carry it back for you. Yeah, I'll do that. Alright, are you ready to keep going? Alright, I'll show you your quarters. They're far more spacious here. Of course, I know, in the old days and all the history books you've studied, people lived in very cramped quarters, and still in some of the freighters or some of, places like the Romulan ships, or, they also have very cramped quarters. But now, even for us, even the lowest ensign, everybody has, nice big living space, so that you don't, have psychological problems over long-term voyages. Because, if this becomes your home and you're going to be living here for a couple years, it's a little bit, we're a little bit better than a navy. We are Starfleet. And so the idea is, basically we're going to have the most strength in both our defense capacities and in our capacities for exploration if we have community and psychologically healthy groups of people working together, entire families. Yeah. Let me take you to your quarters. I'm excited. Alright. What do you think? The sleeping area is over there. I won't accompany you there. I won't cramp your style. Yeah, it's pretty spacious, and some people grow plants in their place. I have a library in mind, and you're welcome to stop by and see mine anytime you like. Okay. Are you gonna be alright? Oh, you can turn on fire sounds too. Not like scary fire sounds, like, yeah. Alright. Well, then sleep well, dear one. I really hope that you've enjoyed this little digital care package, and I just wish you all the very best.